sick. Just got a cold last night. So.
Oh my God.
Okay. What would you do with $1 million? It's a classic hypothetical question. $1 million is a lot of money. I know what I do with $1 million. Get a nicer car, you know? Get a better house. You can do almost anything you wanted with $1 million. What if, however, you're asking the United States government what they would do with $1 million? That's another story entirely. The U.S. government spends millions of dollars every day. They just, kind of throw it out like this. Whoever they want to give it to, it's there. You might ask them, would you buy a war with $1 million? They might say, sure, especially if it was George W. Bush or Donald Rumsfeld. But how much war could you get for $1 million? Maybe a day, week, month? Who knows? I did. When it comes to the Afghanistan war, you could buy yourself 20 minutes. That's right. The United States government spends $1 million every 20 minutes on the Afghanistan war. Over the past 10 years, they have spent $450 billion. This is enough money to, buy the world, pretty much. It's a lot of money. Because of this, I'm arguing in this speech that it is time for the United States government to pull the military from Afghanistan. 3 reasons that I will go over. All have nothing to do with money. The first reason is that since the United States occupation of Afghanistan in 2001, the opium trade has skyrocketed and caused destability in Afghanistan, the Middle East, and the rest of the world in general. Secondly, Pakistani and Afghani refugee public opinion is completely against the United States in every way possible. Thirdly, the United States post-war recovery strategy that is being implemented in Afghanistan currently is not working. It's doing more harm than good. Like I said, firstly, the opium trade. Afghanistan is historically known for its opium trade. Thousands and thousands of years have passed, and they've been producing it. In the 1970s, with the Mujahideen fighting off the Soviet Union, one of the main things that helped the country recover from the conflict, albeit not entirely, was opium trading. The country took in a lot of money from illegal drugs, and for good reason. Drugs are expensive. You grow a lot, you get a lot back. Since 2001, however, the opium trade in Afghanistan has increased exponentially every year. In fact, in 2007, Afghanistan produced 93% of the world's opium. It was over 8,200 tons. That doesn't sound like a lot, but multiply 8,200 by 2,000. It's a lot of opium. Now, in 2002, when the Karzai regime was installed by the United States government, none of them thought that it was a big deal. Opium, who cares? We got to fight off the Taliban. Rightly so. However, as the Taliban started to dwindle in power, the opium cartels began to grow. Up until 2006, when the U.S. government finally decided that, it's probably a threat, it was too late. It had already completely taken over the country, in certain parts of it, like the province of Helmand, which produces more than 50% of Afghanistan's opium. Helmand produces more drugs than any other country in the world. Period. A tiny little province in Afghanistan. More drugs in Colombia, Cuba, Mexico. This is a problem because the United States government, the counter-narcotics operations that it is conducting are not working. They're just not working. The military is untrained. They have no skills in this. We can't do it. Why are we there? One of the reasons why it's time for the U.S. government to leave. Secondly, public opinion. The World Public Opinion Organization conducted a study in Pakistan over the Pakistani civilians and the Afghani refugees that have taken up home there because they had to flee from the war. 88% of these people believe that the United States is out to destabilize, divide, and ultimately destroy the Islamic way of life. 61% of them do not even trust our president, President Obama, to do the right thing when it comes to world policy, or world political policy. 79% of those polled said that they no longer wanted the United States in their region or in their country. Frankly, this is obvious that they don't want us there. Why are we there? It's their land. It's their right. It's their families, their way of life that we're infringing upon by staying there. Lastly, I want to talk about the recovery strategy that the United States has. Now, post-war recovery usually happens post-war, as in after. However, since we're still fighting there, post-war recovery is kind of coinciding with the war. As you can imagine, this isn't working very well. The non-combatants that usually take up the positions of, aid, rebuilding, stuff like that, they're being taken over by the combatants, by the military, and it's not working. Studies have shown that civilians and military personnel cannot cooperate. They cannot operate. They cannot do the post-war recovery that they're meant to do. And this is only creating extraneous issues for the Afghani civilians that have to live with the war-torn nation around them. They have no choice. So in the speech, I argued that because of the United States occupation, the narcotics trade has exponentially increased, causing destability in the region. I've argued that Pakistani and Afghani refugee public opinion is completely against the United States occupation. They deserve for us to respect them, respect their land. And thirdly, the United States policy of post-war reconstruction is counterintuitive and is not doing the job that it should be doing. This is why I believe that the United States should leave Afghanistan. And after all this, if all this hasn't convinced you enough, the numbers and the money should. $450 billion, 1 million every 20 minutes.